Alright lads, how's it going? This is an unscripted video, but it's a super important video I wanted to make for a little while, and it's about a topic that I'm going to dive into more and more as time goes on, because I keep seeing it in men's lives. It's one of the primary things that holds them back the most. And it's related to your family dynamic as you grow up. Let's start with the main problem. The main problem a lot of men have is that they feel anxious, they feel lost in their life, they feel like they don't really know who they are. They feel like they're kind of numb and apathetic to life. They feel like they're kind of they're like an extra in their own life, and they're just a little bit, they're like a few feet away from their own life. They don't feel fully alive. Okay, they're not really feeling all that much. And ultimately maybe they're avoiding confrontation, they're people-pleasy, they're very nice. They're living life very reactively. Rather than being an active participant in their life, they're just kind of letting things happen. And it's not as if they're happy. A lot of these men are depressed as fuck. A lot of them are super anxious. A lot of them are even just sort of dissociated to life. And yeah, it's a pretty rough position to be in, and it's one that I encounter so much in the work I do, and I've also noticed it in myself. And I wanted just to talk to you today about the dynamic that a lot of these men, and maybe you, experienced growing up that contributed to this, okay? And that dynamic is what I call the disastrous duo, passive father and overbearing mother. Let me tell you a little bit about how that works and what that is. Basically, your father was passive, which means he took a backseat in the dynamic in the family unit. Now, this can also be the case if he wasn't even there. He is either passive or absent from the picture. It might be the case that your father was around, but maybe he wasn't actually there. He wasn't present. He was checking out in the sense that he was constantly working, or he's constantly drinking, or he's constantly distracted. You didn't feel and didn't get the emotional support from your father. Your father was kind of just he was there, but not really. So he was passive. But what effect does that have on the mother? The mother, lacking the man's masculine leadership, ends up taking the man role, taking the masculine role in the house. Okay, because she doesn't trust him to lead things, which is what the feminine deeply craves. The feminine deeply craves masculine leadership because that helps the feminine fully relax and feel safe and feel alive. But if he's not doing that, then she, although she doesn't really want to, will take over. And she'll just take control of the entire situation. How does this affect you? So as a child, what do you see? You get a representation and a role model of masculinity that looks a bit like this. A passive man, kind of like a bumbling Homer Simpson figure, right? Not very competent, not very assertive, not very capable, doesn't really stick up for himself that much. He kind of just potters around the house, but he's not actually fucking fully alive. Okay, he's not really there, he's not really modeling. This is how you can actually live instead of just exist. So that's the representation of masculinity of a man you get growing up. That's your main role model, okay? Isn't it funny how you've become a lot, if you are a passive man yourself, you've become a lot like your father in that regard. Now, how does this affect your relationships with women? Well, it might make you very avoidant because one thing that will happen is the mother figure in this dynamic often takes on a devouring energy. And what I mean by that is she can be very controlling, she can be very nagging, because masculine energy is not her natural state. Masculine energy is something that she can step into if she has to, but it's not some place where she can fully reside. So over time, this will exhaust her. Okay, and that exhaustion will come across as like nagging and being critical and not leading very well, essentially. So what you eventually get as a representation of the feminine, of the women in your life, is one where women are generally critical, women are a threat, they basically engender a lot of negative emotions in you. Not only that, the representation you built over the course of your life as a child is that a relationship with a woman, in this case your mother, is like hands around your neck, okay? It's constricting, it's devouring, it's intense, it's not giving you the full freedom. Because she doesn't trust the father figure in the house, then she also doesn't trust, she's not like letting go of trust for you to become your own person either. And this brings me to kind of another thing that I've noticed is, and this is your relationship and a man's relationship to his mother. So in this dynamic, the passive father, the devouring mother, what will often happen is the mother is not getting her emotional needs met from the father. She has emotional needs for companionship, connection, okay? But the father, if he's completely checked out and passive in the relationship and in the house, she needs to get those needs met somehow. And it may very well have been the case that she started to get those needs met by you. She might have attached to you and made you into mummy's little boy, okay? To the point where you have built this kind of relationship with your mother there's not very many boundaries. Another way of saying this would be, if a boy grows up with this, he eventually, and it's going to sound a bit weird, but it's true, becomes monogamous to his mother, right? Which means that he's still attached to his mum. He's not cut the umbilical cord yet. She's not cut the umbilical cord, and neither is he. So it's very possible for a man to be in his 30s and 40s and he's still in some sort of unconscious commitment to his mother. Obviously not romantic, but like there's an energetic connection to his mother, which means that he's not committing to women in his life. Not only is he not committing to the women in his life fully, but he's also not really committing to going out and living, right? Let me tell you something that's very important. Something that is very important in ancient societies is an initiation ritual that served to pry the boy away from the mother's grasp, okay? So there's one tribe I read about in a Joseph Campbell book actually, where the men of the tribe would paint their faces and dress up like ghosts and demons, and then they would, around the age of 14, they would steal a boy away in the middle of the night from the tribe. And the women of the tribe, by this point, they kind of understood what was going on. But they would act like scared and rejecting of it. They're like, oh, don't take my baby away from me, etc. But the boy would be taken away anyway. And then the boy would be dumped in the woods for 2 weeks. And he had to survive on his own in the woods for 2 weeks. And that served as an initiation ritual. A lot of the boys died. But the point is, the tribe said, look, we can't have men in this tribe. We won't survive if we have men everywhere who can't survive on their own. Yeah? So without that initiation ritual, those tribesmen knew that without that initiation ritual, the mothers wouldn't let go of their own accord. Their motherly protection instinct is too strong. That energy, that sort of maternal energy is so strong, and she wants to protect her babies, that she won't let him go, right? It was up to the role of the strong men of the tribe to do that. And without it, the boy is still attached to his mother. So relating this back to you, the passive father did not initiate you into the chaotic, challenging world of manhood, okay? And as a result, the mother, you're still attached to her, okay? And this is leading you, essentially, to not becoming your own man. You're still, either psychologically, spiritually, or even physically, at home. You've not left your comfort zone. You've not gone out into the world to do your own thing yet. So if you've watched this video this far, you probably realise that there's some essence to this dynamic that played itself out in your life. Otherwise, you would have clicked off by now. So what the fuck do you do now, right? Well, the things you can do, it's too far beyond the scope of this video for me to tell you everything. But one thing I do want you to really look at is your relationship to your mum. If she is still alive, I mean, my mother's not still alive, so that kind of cut the umbilical cord anyway, around the age of 14. But what I'd suggest you do is look at your relationship to your mum. Is it a manipulative relationship? Do you feel guilty? If you start dating somebody, do you feel like there's some sort of weird competition that goes off? Because that is the thing. Does your mother naturally encourage you to go out and do your own thing? Is there does she need you for her own emotional supply to such a degree where it bothers you and stifles you? What are your boundaries like with your mum? Do you feel like you're okay standing up to her? Do you feel like there's some strange sort of energetic connection that kind of keeps you stuck in one way? If you want to develop and become the best man you could possibly be, your own man, you absolutely need to look at that dynamic. And if you've identified that you do have an energetic connection to your mother, if you still are monogamous to your mother in some way, if you're still attached, right, then all I say is you have to fucking let go of that, okay? You have to let that go. If you live at home still, I'm being deadly serious. If you still live at home, you have this energetic connection to your mother, get the fuck out of there as soon as possible, right? I don't care how much it costs or whatever. Do a house, go live in a house share. I moved out when I was like 17, started living in a house share, right? Go and do that. Or start taking trips away where you're on your own. If you've never traveled for any long stretch of time on like a solo backpacking trip or something, do that. Go to fucking Australia for 6 months, right? If you've never done anything like this and you're kind of still kept at home, you need to absolutely carve an identity out for yourself that's not so enmeshed with your mother, okay? So that's how you do it, yeah? There's a lot more to it, but I don't want to go on for too long, okay? Right, that's it. Take care. Enjoy yourselves, guys, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.